You know that idea we're all raised on? The one that says if you just work hard and you're smart enough, you'll succeed? That's meritocracy. It's the very foundation of our schools. But what if, and this is a big what if that whole system is a lie? What if it's not just failing us, but actively breaking us? Let's dive in.
I mean, on paper, it sounds great, right? A system where your individual ability and achievements are what matter. The best and the brightest rise to the top and everyone benefits. What could possibly be wrong with that? It feels just. It feels fair.
Well, this is where things take a pretty dark turn. There's a powerful argument that this system we think is so fair is actually destroying us. Yeah, destroying us. It's creating massive inequality, widespread anxiety, and an elite ruling class that's totally out of touch. So how on earth could a system built on fairness be doing so much damage? All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to peel back the layers of the myth itself. And honestly, there's no better place to start than the uniquely strange and frankly bizarre American college admissions process. Okay, just look at this. It really puts things in perspective. In most of the world, getting into college is pretty straightforward. You take a big test, like China's Gaokao, and your score gets you in. Simple. But in the US, oh no. Elite schools want to see the whole you. That means transcripts, test scores, sports, clubs, recommendation letters, deeply personal essays. It's this incredibly complicated and exhausting process. So the real question is, why? Why make it so complex? Believe it or not, the answer is all about history and power. These Ivy League schools started out as religious seminaries, literally to train ministers. Then they morphed into these exclusive social clubs for the super rich to network. But then, new universities, like the University of Chicago, popped up, and, well, they were just better, academically. The old guard got scared. So what did they do? They cooked up the SAT and this whole holistic admissions thing. It was never just about finding the best students. It was a power move to control exactly who they let through the gates. And that brings us to a completely different, kind of radical way of looking at this whole thing. You have to stop thinking about elite admissions as being about education. It's not. It's a business transaction. Yeah, you heard that right. Forget school. Think of Harvard as a massive venture capital firm, a VC firm. Their product isn't knowledge. It's influence. It's brand power. They aren't admitting students. They're picking investments they hope will pay off big time down the road. So, let's play a game. Imagine you're a venture capitalist. You're sitting in your office and you've got 2 pitches coming in. Which one are you going to fund? Okay, pitch number 1, a restaurant. Super solid business plan. It's pretty much guaranteed to make a nice, steady, but kind of modest profit. Low risk. Pitch number 2, a wild tech startup. The idea is a little vague, the founder has 0 experience, but if it hits, it could be a billion-dollar company. Total moonshot. High risk, but a massive reward. Which one do you pick? You pick the billion-dollar idea. Every single time. Why? Because in the world of venture capital, one massive win, one Google, one Facebook, pays for all the failures and makes your firm a legend. And that's exactly the mindset of a place like Harvard. They don't want 1,000 modestly successful graduates. They're hunting for the next Mark Zuckerberg, the next president, the one person who will make their brand globally dominant for another generation. So what does that billion-dollar investment look like in a 17-year-old's application file? Well, the professor behind this whole theory uses his own story of getting into Yale. His application was fine. His grades were good, not number 1. Test scores were average, but admissions officers are trained to read between the lines. They saw a poor immigrant kid who defied his own principal to transfer to a better school. They didn't just see a good student. They saw someone who was hungry. And that hunger translates into a pretty specific personality checklist they're looking for. First, desperation, a feeling that failure simply is not an option. Second, insecurity, a deep-seated need for achievement to feel worthy. And third, a willingness to transgress, to bend or even break the rules to get ahead. They see these traits not as red flags, but as predictors of someone who will stop at nothing to succeed. So this system of selecting for trauma and ruthless ambition doesn't just mess with the students who get in. It has profound and absolutely devastating consequences for society as a whole. Just take a look at this chart. It's a stunning paradox. Since 1940, the number of Americans going to college has skyrocketed. It's up 7 times. You'd think more education would lead to a more equal society, right? But in that exact same period, income inequality has exploded, making the US one of the most unequal developed nations on the planet. So, what happened to the American dream? The promise that your kids will do better than you did? Well, back in the 1940s, over 90% of children grew up to earn more than their parents. 90%. Today, that number has been cut nearly in half. It's basically a coin toss. For about 50% of young people, the dream of upward mobility is dead. So, where is all that wealth and power going? This chart shows the funnel perfectly. A tiny handful of elite universities are churning out a massively disproportionate share of the country's richest and most powerful people. Get this, an astonishing 7% of all Americans with a net worth over $100 million are Harvard graduates alone. The result is a permanent ruling class, increasingly disconnected from the rest of the country. They go to the same schools, work at the same firms, and they protect each other's interests. Just think of the 2008 bank bailouts. This concentration of power is a major source of the political division and anger we see all around us today. Okay, so this system is broken. It's designed for power, not progress. But, and this is the important part, you don't have to play their game. You can actually opt out. Let's talk about how you can shift your focus. It really all comes down to two fundamentally different mindsets. On the left, you've got the toxic approach the meritocracy creates. Obsessed with grades, terrified of failure, and always asking, what's in it for me? On the right is a much healthier way to live. Focused on curiosity, seeing failure as a chance to grow, and always asking, what can I learn? And here is the final, tragic irony of it all. The system makes people arrogant and utilitarian. For those who aren't born into extreme wealth, this can be a recipe for disaster. It trains you to refuse to learn from your mistakes, which can lead to a spectacular failure in both your career and your life. So, what's the real path forward? What are your next steps? First, stay open-minded. Recognize that you can learn something from everyone. Second, reframe failure. It is not an indictment of your worth. It's your best teacher. It builds resilience. Third, learn for the sake of learning, not just to get an A. And finally, commit to something you are truly passionate about. That is where real, sustainable success is actually found.
The system wants you to believe there's only one path to a valuable life, a path paved with brand names and relentless achievement. But maybe, just maybe, the greatest achievement of all is refusing to play their game and having the courage to define success entirely on your own terms.